Hey, everybody. We are live right now, and I'm a UMD functional and holistic medicine physician and owner of Transform, and I have two alumni with me. And today we are going to be talking about how these two ended their headaches and migraines. Hey, welcome everybody. And if you're just joining us on our live right now, I would love for you guys to write in the comment section where you're watching from. That'll be great. If you're an alumni and you're watching this, please comment in the comment section that you're an alumni. Christina and Merritt and I could use your support. Thank you, everybody. All right, quick introduction here. I'm at UMD and I am a functional medicine physician and owner of Transform Autoimmune. And today it's our autoimmune table talk. And I love the topic around headache and migraines because it is such a common symptom in any autoimmune disease or not. And so I'd love, Christina, Merritt, for you guys to introduce yourselves. I'm going to start with Christina. I'm going to go to Merritt. These are two graduates that have graduated from our program, one about a year ago and one about 3 years ago. And I love the fact that if you're getting results, are these results sustainable? So I love having graduates here to be able to answer some of these questions. Christina, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Hey, thanks for having me. I joined your program 3 years ago, and I had lupus since I was about 16. Well, I was diagnosed when I was 16, but it had symptoms since I was 12. Over the years, I collected a variety of diagnoses to include Sjogren's syndrome, gastroparesis, dysautonomia, and I pretty much lived with daily headaches that I had given up complaining to doctors about. But in the few months before I came to your program, they were getting considerably worse and affecting how I could function every day.
So on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst for the symptom is, how bad were your headaches and migraines?
I would say that on any given day, I had a level 1, 2 headache at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was pretty standard. I remember when I was working, I would get to work and I would pop anywhere between 600 to 800 milligrams of ibuprofen and down a diet Dr. Pepper. And that's how I got through the day. Probably.
I'm wondering right now in our audience, there's a lot of people watching. Monica, alumni, thank you for commenting. Danielle, thanks for sharing this. If there's anyone that you know that can benefit from sharing this, tag their name in the comments right now. Put their name in the comment section right now. But how many of you out there are actually doing this thing with the headaches where you're basically either coffee or diet Dr. Peppering it on a daily basis to just deal with those symptoms, only to have these headaches come back over and over again? I'd love to hear it in the comment section. So that was you, Christina.
Yes. And then I would say in the months before I joined your program, as the symptoms of dysautonomia or POTS had started to pop up, I had gotten to the point that if I had any kind of exertion, I would end up with a pounding headache that would last 3 to 4 days to the point I couldn't function. By that point, I had also discovered that I had chronic duodenitis from the chronic ibuprofen use.
Yep.
And I was on Plaquenil. Tylenol is contraindicated when you're on Plaquenil. So I was getting to the point I was having, I would say they were levels between 6 and 8 when they would get to that point, and I felt like I had no options for pain relief.
Well, I mean, Christina, you actually highlighted a typical case where you got these migraines, and yet the very medications you're told to take it is actually causing serious side effects and additional health new diagnoses.
Right. Yeah.
And they weren't even working that great anyway.
Right.
Okay. Merritt, what about you? What's your story around this?
So I have had headaches back from as far back as I can remember. I was the kiddo that had eczema and headaches, and that was my thing. And I can remember being, even 7, 8, 9 years old, laying on the sofa, not being able to get up. And, as a kid, you want to be up and moving around. So as I got older, as I moved through puberty, period hits, and then all of a sudden I found myself getting monthly migraines, and to the point where, and especially after I had my second son, they had gotten so bad that I would be at work and just know that, okay, it's Wednesday and I know I'm going to end up with this migraine, and by 10 o'clock I was popping to Excedrin and the caffeine, and otherwise I was getting, nausea, aura, and it was almost felt like I was having like a mini stroke every month. It was so bad. I would have word finding difficulties. And this was in combination with, my alopecia and Hashimoto's diagnoses. But I just assumed that since my family had a history of migraines, that this was just kind of my destiny.
Well, I think both of you are bringing up some good points because there's multiple mechanisms. Oop, a little bit of an echo. There's multiple mechanisms with which, I'm wondering if that's me. There are multiple mechanisms with which there could be migraines. And one of the things you talked about, Merritt, was that with starting your periods. So there's definitely a hormonal component to migraines, and then you were getting them monthly. Christina is highlighting where there's mechanisms of disease states like POTS or dysautonomia. With POTS, there's really a lot of blood pressure and heart rate changes whenever you could just switch your position. And that in itself can trigger migraines on top of the additive effect of adding hormonal problems on top of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm hearing all the caffeine intake to actually deal with it. Caffeine daily consumptions can also trigger rebound migraines. So the remedies themselves can sometimes trigger additional migraines. So all this is what I call the shit show of headaches and migraines that most people that are headache sufferers live with. So there's autoimmune components, other disease states, there's going to be a hormonal component, and there's a diet component.
Yeah. And like you said, it keeps getting worse. And it's like this cyclical process where you take the med, you feel better for a minute, and then you get the rebound headache. And so then you're not supposed to be taking the med, but eventually the pain gets so bad that you take it again.
Okay. Yep.
Also, the other thing I found too is that seasonal changes, sinus pressure, flying on an airplane, any of those little changes would trigger really bad headaches.
Barometric
Yep.
pressure changes can cause that as well. Okay, I'd love to know where you at, Merritt, 1 year out from our program. Christina, 3 years out from our program. Where are you at currently with your headaches?
I get maybe 1 or 2 a month, and they're no more than a 1 or 2 on the pain scale. A lot of times, as soon as I start to feel something creeping up, I can stop and say, okay, wait a minute, what's going on? And I can pinpoint what the issue is, whether it's I need to better control my blood sugar or, maybe I didn't get enough sleep.
We're going to get there. But what you're saying is right now, occasional, and even if they do level 1 or 2, not like your 8 or 9s.
Right.
And you're able to pinpoint what the cause is.
Exactly.
Correct. Okay. What about you?
Same story here. Not only do I not get those monthly migraines that are, hormone based, but like maybe 1 to 2 a month, and they're very tolerable. It usually means that I need to hydrate more, or that I've accidentally eaten something that I know I'm sensitive to, and I either have to just kind of suck it up and live with it for a little bit, and the pain's going to go away because I screwed up. But more often than not, it's really nice to be able to, like Christina said, I know the source of where it's not this random attack on me.
I call it random acts of health violence.
Yeah, that's exactly.
No more random acts of health violence. Symptoms and frequency is way diminished, but you know exactly when it does happen, what the cause is, and you can actually work actively to eliminate those causes.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to pause for a second. We've got tons of comments here. Keep those comments coming in. Amy M says that she's joining us, newbie in the program. She just started our program. I'm multitasking Zoom school conferences. Okay, Amy. I have Lisa A, another person in our program right now who says, thanks for doing this. I love that. And so many alumni are joining us. We got alumni from Pennsylvania, Georgia. Margaret is watching. She's an alumni in our program as well. Those of you that aren't alumni, do you have questions for our guests on how they got rid of their migraines? And can you tell me a little bit more in the comment section? What are some of the symptoms you have? How frequently do you have them? And what are some of the things that you've tried that haven't worked? I'd love to hear more in the comment section. That'll be great. So I'm gonna, you two are already spilling the secret sauce. So we all want to know the secret sauce of what worked for you. So Christina, you started with, you already gave us a sneak peek. What worked?
The blood sugar, balancing the blood sugar was one huge component. Of course, with the gastroparesis I had been prescribed, a low fat, low fiber diet. I was eating way too many simple carbs.
Yep.
Um,
But that's
and
the typical diet recommended for irritable
Right.
bowel syndrome, Crohn's,
right.
gut soothing diet, the Brett diet, gastroparesis diets, all simple carbs. What happened with
Right.
that?
Well, I found out with the food mapping in particular that I was intolerant of gluten, I was intolerant of dairy, a handful of other things I was intolerant to that I was really surprised that I was eating pretty regularly. Blueberries, cranberries, mushrooms. Those were really surprising to me. And then a borderline intolerance to eggs.
Wait a minute. Blueberries, cranberries are really healthy for you.
Right, right. And so that was, I was I've been making smoothies, trying to get in some more nutrient dense foods with the gastroparesis. And so trying to find ways to get in nutrition when I couldn't digest a lot of fiber. Making it into a smoothie made it, I thought a little bit easier to digest, but all those food intolerances were just causing more inflammation in my gut so that I couldn't absorb.
Christina, I mean, you bring up a really good point, because I think what brought you initially to working with us was a lot of these food issues with the gastroparesis. I mean, you weren't even necessarily looking to turn around your migraines or anything, POTS or anything else.
No, that was icing on the cake. I wasn't even worried about that.
And so tell me, how was the process of food mapping different than, and you're a medical provider here, how was working with us with food mapping different than anything you've done as a patient or as a healthcare provider?
The thing that was really interesting was that to see that it was personalized to me. I had been trying, I had been recommended all these elimination diets that generally just left me crying because I felt like I couldn't eat anything. It was just eliminating even more foods. Other healthcare providers would just say, "Oh, just drink an Ensure. Drink an Ensure. That'll just cover everything." But this
Try
was
not to roll your eyes
me.
too far back, Merritt.
But the thing that was really, and I also, everybody recommends, do this diet, autoimmune, you have to do this diet. And this was personalized to me. These were my personal results. Going through the program, I got to see other people's results. And that was really interesting to see that it wasn't, not everybody had to eliminate dairy.
Nope.
Some people, it wasn't a problem.
Right.
And so that gave me more confidence in the results of the testing, because a lot of other people try to say, oh, that testing isn't reliable. And this, I felt confident because you weren't just making the same across the board recommendations to everybody.
Oh, hell no. You know me, I'm like the epitome of personalized data. You gotta have personalized
Absolutely.
data. I hate elimination diets that are personalized to no one.
Right.
Okay. So food mapping was a huge data point for you. How quickly with food mapping and the results that you got changed some of your symptoms?
It took a little bit of time. I'm not going to lie, with getting rid of the foods that I was sensitive to, it took some time. The good thing is going through your program, you and your staff gave me guidance on things that I could do to balance my blood sugar while I was calming that inflammation down. So I was using things like collagen peptides and MCT oil to get good fats in, help balance that blood sugar. And I started feeling better immediately during the course of your program. I also found out about some nutrient deficiencies like B12 that really helped me to start feeling better since I was having trouble absorbing so many nutrients. But it was probably a full 6 months before, I was already reintroducing a lot of different foods before the end of the 2-month program.
Yeah.
But it was probably about a full 6 months before I was able to reintroduce fiber.
Okay.
But that was, I was already feeling better knowing that I had some tools to balance my blood sugar in the meantime.
So for me, what I'm hearing is getting accurate food sensitivity testing for you was a huge pivotal part of this for you, Christina.
Right, because it calmed down that inflammation in my gut so I could absorb nutrients from the foods I could eat.
So what I tell people is the gut sets the inflammatory tone for the rest of your body. So you got to work on that to figure out what's messing up that environment first. And starting with food mapping is key. Merritt, What was your journey around food? And it doesn't have to be food mapping where you have You have mentioned blood sugar in the past, but I'm wondering, how much do you think food was a role in your turnaround and for you?
Well, it's interesting because I was already eating gluten free.
Yeah.
And so then doing the individualized food mapping, I had tried AIP type diets, and I had also even tried the over the counter food sensitivity tests. And what I ended up with was this list of like 30 things I wasn't supposed to be eating. And so like Christine, I had this very limited diet. Um, and so getting the specifics and specifically finding out, okay, dairy is like never going to come back into my world. But, I'm fine with blueberries and mushrooms, but cane sugar for me was screaming high. And so not only was it needing to eat differently, eating, higher diet and cruciferous veggies and, good nutrients, but also cutting the cane sugar.
And that's pretty specific because that's not all sugar. Cane sugar,
Right.
beet sugar, honey, all those are very different. I mean, it's very specifically for you as cane sugar, correct?
Correct. Because I can tell now that I've accidentally had something that had cane sugar in it because I will get a raging headache within an hour of having it.
Well, I love that, what I call additional data. When you reintroduce it after you eliminate it for 2 months, it actually gives you very clear indication that, hot damn, that's really real.
Yeah, I did it accidentally with a can of what was supposed to be organic soup at work. And then all of a sudden felt like I was going to die. And once was enough.
But I love that you had data to drive that. You didn't have to guess and think, oh my God, all soup is bad. Is it this or that, or those 10, 20 things in that soup I got to avoid now again?
Right. No, it was the one ingredient that I missed.
Okay. So that's food sensitivities. And you guys alluded to this, how important was blood sugar? And I know Christina from previous interviews, if you guys haven't seen Christina's interview, she really, huge transformation in your POTS and dysautonomia, gastroparesis, all that. But anybody with POTS or dysautonomia out there, can you comment in the comment section below? And if you'd like to be tagged in Christina's, we had a video right after she did the program, and about a year and a half later, her transformation is incredible. And you credited blood sugar as a huge part of solving POTS for you. Can you talk about more the role of blood sugar in POTS or in headaches?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just, I didn't appreciate that, the highs and particularly for me, the lows in blood sugar were just really sending my symptoms all over the place. It was messing with my sleep at night. So I was waking up because my blood sugar was going too low. And so, of course, that messes with hormone production and, feeling fatigued all the time. And of course, that contributes to headaches, not getting enough rest. And so that was a huge piece of me being able to get better quality sleep.
So globally, you're saying that the blood sugar helped with the POTS, with the sleep, but also with the migraines. Can you give us one big change that was like a big aha for you with the blood sugar thing that was like, wow, that really worked?
Making sure that I had some protein and fat before bed.
Yeah.
That was a huge piece for me. Having that little bit of protein and some fat helped me to get better quality sleep. And I wasn't waking up at 3 and 4 a.m. all the time.
Do you have an example of a protein and fat before bed?
A lot of times,
Test quiz.
I'll do something really simple like a mug of ginger tea.
Yeah.
And I'll put some collagen peptides in there and a little bit of MCT oil. And because I do have a hiatal hernia, so I am prone to reflux. So I try not to eat something really heavy before bed. And so that having that helped was just enough to level out my blood sugar so that I wasn't, even if I do wake up now at 3 or 4 a.m., I can usually go right back to sleep. It's not my blood sugar keeping me up.
What about you, Merritt? What do you think blood sugar? What's your journey with that or aha with that?
I was going to say it's very similar to Christine. And I was also kind of venturing into the land of dysautonomia. and was getting dizzy and having the same kinds. For me, it was needing to make sure that I ate something within an hour of waking up every morning. And it couldn't just be, grab a granola bar or grab something as I was heading out the door. It needed to be, again, high protein, high fat, snack. And so for me, my morning routine is now a big mug of almond milk with collagen peptides, MCT oil, and I add cacao, and that to me, and a little bit of vanilla extract, and it's a little bit of coconut. And to me, that now tastes sweet. My boys taste it and they're like, "What are you drinking?" But because I've cut the sugar, it's delicious. And that really, if I miss that, or if I miss having something like eggs or something, I'm dragging for the rest of the day, and much higher likelihood that I'm going to end up with a headache.
Well, what you're telling me is one of the concepts we teach in our program with Blood Sugar Mastery is what I call bookending the day, which is that you got to start that first thing in the morning with that protein and fat hit, and you got to end the day with that as well. And for those of you that are watching who are in our Facebook group, or you're watching from YouTube, I talk about my bedtime routine with that whole fat protein mix and golden balance, how I make my golden balance, which is our golden milk from our store. It is the best selling product from the store and the most rebought. And one of the reasons is because it freaking works. It's like herbs that really help balance your blood sugar at night along with the collagen. And then I love using it with half coconut milk and coconut cream to actually make my golden milk at night with the golden balance. So to me, like that whole idea around the protein and fat is huge. And you got to bookend your day with it.
And also, Meg, for me has become a bit, and this taps into the mindset piece. For me, it's ritual in the morning is, waking up, and I look forward to having that moment with my frother, that looking forward to that nourishment. And I miss it if I don't have it.
Mary, reminds me, you had mentioned hydration in the past before. And can you talk a little bit about your experience with just understanding proper hydration? And yeah.
Absolutely. I was going to say, especially working in a medical field, I had gotten very good at not drinking anything during the day, because if you're going from patient to patient to patient, there is no time to go or at least, let me rephrase that. I thought that there wasn't time to go to the bathroom. And I realized that, I know you can relate. And so you get in this very bad habit of not drinking any water. And then I'd get home, I would feel horrible. I'd have a headache, and then I'd be downing water and then awake all night because I was going to the bathroom.
Right.
And so really realizing that making hydration a priority, not only was it necessary, I also realized I had every right and permission to hydrate and to take care of myself, and that it was okay to stop and go to the bathroom, particularly since I was working in urology at the time.
So ironic.
I know. So I was sitting there telling people all day to drink water, and then I'm not doing it.
Right.
But again, if my hydration falls off, if I go lower than that half my body weight in water every day, that's when I know that, especially the next day, I'm at much higher risk for ending up with a headache. And so have to really watch that. And it's it sounds so simple. And once you incorporate it into your life, it does become simple.
In our Facebook group, if you haven't joined it already, check out Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally and join our Facebook group, because a couple times a year I run the 10-day water challenge in the group, and we're 36,000 people in the Facebook group right now. It's a huge challenge for us to run. But so many of you, I think I've seen both of you play full out in the water challenges a lot. And to me, it's like people are like, why are you running a water challenge? It's because of the results. It freaking works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My 13-year-old really got on board with it last time, and she has still been keeping up with it.
I love that.
Awesome.
Okay. Now, people want to know about, is there any role of supplementation that was helpful in dealing with migraines for either one of you?
Well, in addition to the MCT oil and the collagen, for me, the B12, if I forget to take my B12, I notice very quickly.
Yeah.
And then omega-3s, I had started just before I started your program. Someone else had suggested omega-3s to me, but then after your program, I bumped it up. And it has been really helpful, not just for headaches, but joint pain too.
Super secret. Okay. Latest research in autoimmunity, and I know the latest research because everything in our program is data driven, okay, is that the dosing of omegas, of a high quality omega that you need to calm down autoimmune disease, okay, it's about 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams a day, which is why I love the fact that you want a vetted fish oil, and our Pro Omega 1000 is 1,000 per capsule, making it easy. You just take 3 of those a day, anytime in the day. I like to take it at night. I take all 3 at night because omegas are going to be super helpful with hormone balancing, anti-inflammatory, and sleep. So for me, omegas is huge, and it's a big deal in autoimmunity. But specifically, omegas are really big in migraine headache management, actually. So how much do you take on the fish oil, Christina?
I'm taking 3,000. I take 2,000 in the morning, and then I take the last bit at night. But I might switch that around. But and then the B12 too, like realizing I needed the methylated B12. I needed a good quality B12, not just, those additives they put in all of those.
Yeah. Well,
they add it to everything
and you learned in our program too that there's definitely some nutrients that are really important in autoimmunity, and understanding your test results accurately is huge with that, because so many people are being lied to because their doctors don't even understand how to accurately assess B12 levels, truly intracellular B12 levels.
Absolutely.
Merritt, what do you think? Anything on supplementation advice you can give?
I was going to say, for me, it was also looking at like the individual lab results. And for me, it was actually realizing that I needed to adjust my thyroid medications a little bit. I needed to switch to something that included T3. And, definitely the vitamin D, vitamin B12. The other thing too that I have really started adding, again, to address the barometric pressure thing, is Sinuplex. Is my friend. And anytime I I know that if it's going to snow here in Philly,
it's actually snowing right now in Portland. It just started. I'm looking out my window.
You're like, stop it. But I know that, okay, if there's a snowstorm, I just automatically take Sinuplex just as a protective measure, and it really makes a huge difference for me.
There's an allergy component to headache, and there's a barometric pressure component to headache. So what's cool about Sinuplex is that it's got high-dose quercetin, which is really great as a natural antihistamine to decrease any allergic component. It's got stinging nettle in it, which is the strongest herb that you can take when you're dealing with allergies. It's got some vitamin C, NAC in there, bromelain there. It's really our powerhouse for dealing with an allergic component to this. So was there a sinus component to your headaches in the past, Merritt?
You know what? There was from time to time. It was challenging because it was hard to distinguish, was it a migraine that felt like a sinus headache? Or was it a sinus headache that felt like a migraine, or was it some combination of both? And I did in the past have some success with using Sudafed, but obviously didn't want to be doing that. So being able to find something more effective and healthier was really important. The other thing too, in talking about supplementation, is for me, it wasn't necessarily just one supplement or this supplement. It was the combination of things that were individualized for what my body and what my data showed that I needed. Because it was, I felt like I had spent years saying, oh, well, they said to take this supplement or try this supplement or do this, do that. And I was feeling like I was piecemealing things together the best I could.
Yeah.
It was only when I had all the knowledge all at once that you really saw the change happen quickly.
I think that concept's really important because a lot of people, I talk about hormone balance like crazy, and we have a hormone program, my hormone masterclass. What people don't realize in our main program for Transform Autoimmune Disease and in my hormone masterclass is that what I've hidden in the hormone components is actually a liver cleansing protocol. There's a huge component of liver that's involved with hormone balancing, and there's a huge part in liver for blood sugar balancing, and they're all linked. And liver is
Yeah.
one of the largest organs in your gut. So how can you heal your gut if you ain't dealing with your liver?
Well, I joked that I needed liver love because, and I didn't even know that I needed that. And so I think I think it's a continuing process. And I think that's the part that's so important too, is that it's not just you're done after 8 weeks and then everything's magically better. It's an ongoing learning process. And I think that's what's so valuable about this program is that there's really ongoing opportunities to learn and to grow and to talk with alumni and really just it pays for itself in spades.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. I'm looking. There wasn't a whole lot of questions here in our live audience. So, I mean, if you guys have any questions for us, we have a couple minutes left. I'd love to see if there was any questions that anyone had. I saw that some of you were really interested in learning more about food mapping. And those of you that did put that in the comments, check your messages. We also have videos in the Facebook group that explains specifically what is so unique about our food mapping process that's different than anybody else. And I think, Christina, you had mentioned that, a lot of people talk about food sensitivity testing or intolerance testing as boohoo and bunk. And the truth of the matter is there is a lot of really poor testing out there. A lot of these mail order tests, even a lot of testing that you do with providers is really crapola. But I think the most important piece is not only do you need the right test, but I think getting the right education to understand that autoimmune people actually have a lot of false positives and false negatives. So even if you do the right test, but if you were never trained on how to understand what a false positive or negative is, it's bad. It becomes bad data.
That was key for me because when I got my food mapping results back, I looked at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sensitive to all of this. But then when we went through it, I realized, no, there's only about 4 or 5 things that I really need to stay away from and can gradually try to reintroduce. But yeah, that was huge for me Maggie, I'm repeating your food freedom. That there was food freedom that came from that knowledge.
Well, Christina, you were the one where you said that before the program, you were sitting at an anniversary dinner. Can you tell us about that meal before the program?
Right. I mean, the standard for me, we went out to eat someplace, was a plain baked potato. That was it. Salt, pepper, sometimes not even butter. I mean, just because I felt like I had no other options. And I really thought at first that I wasn't going to be able to give up gluten and dairy. But it has opened up a huge world of possibilities now, knowing precisely what I can eat, tying it back into that allergy component. Without the gluten and the dairy, I have a lot less mucus production.
Yep.
And that means, once again, the better quality sleep, less pressure headaches. It's totally worth giving up those few handfuls of foods in order to have so much more variety. And now I mean, it takes, it's definitely something that I have to do some planning when I go out to eat and look at the menu to see what they have. But most places I can find something I can eat now, and I don't feel deprived.
I love that. Okay. Merritt's video got frozen.
Oh my.
All right. So I think that's a wrap. I'd love for you guys, we talked about a lot of different things like barometric pressure. We talked about the role of allergies. We talked about blood sugar. And we talked about the role of hormones and the liver. So this was a lot. One thing that I would want to drop as an Easter egg here is if anybody is interested, I actually have a pain protocol from our program, which we share with our in-program participants. And if you're interested, right now I'm going to have my team drop in the comment section a link to download our pain protocol. If you're interested in learning about just some of the supplementation that we're talking about, if you're interested in learning more about food mapping, hormone balancing, make sure you actually write that in the comment section that you want more information about our program, and we're happy to message you with that. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I hope that this was super helpful, and I'm sure Merritt, if she was here, would be like, bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, everybody. If you would like more autoimmune table talks, write more autoimmune table talk in the comment section. If you know there's somebody that actually could benefit from watching this later, put their name in the comments and they'll be able to see it later. Thanks, everybody.